Welcome to Soundscape, where we explore the songs that didn't just climb the charts but changed music forever. Today's story is about a song that broke down walls instead of building them, a track that defied all expectations and became a cultural earthquake. I'm talking about Walk This Way by Run-DMC and Aerosmith. Before or after you watch this, I really encourage you to go and listen to the song, because once you understand its incredible story, you'll hear more than just music. You'll hear history being made. To truly grasp the impact of Walk This Way, we need to rewind to the early 1980s. The music world was segregated. On one side, you had rock and roll. It was the king of the airwaves, the undisputed ruler of MTV, filling stadiums and selling millions of records. Rock was mainstream, established, and powerful. On the other side, you had hip-hop. It was the new kid on the block, a raw and revolutionary art form born in the streets of New York City. But in the early 80s, hip-hop was still an underground movement. It was often dismissed by the mainstream music industry, frequently misunderstood, and almost never given the same platform as rock. The two genres were like oil and water. They existed in separate universes and rarely, if ever, mixed. In the hip-hop universe, Run-DMC were trailblazers. Hailing from Hollis, Queens, Joseph Run Simmons, Daryl DMC McDaniels, and Jason Jam Master J Mizell were pioneers of a new school of hip-hop. Their sound was stripped down, aggressive, and powerful. They traded in the disco-funk samples of early rap for hard-hitting drum machines and a raw, in-your-face delivery. They looked different too, rocking tracksuits, gold chains, and unlaced Adidas sneakers, bringing street style to the forefront. They were unapologetically themselves, representing the voice of a new generation. Meanwhile, in the rock universe, Aerosmith's story was quite different. They were gods of 1970s rock. With iconic tracks like Dream On and the original Walk This Way, they had defined the sound of a decade. They were the quintessential rock stars, living a life of excess and fame. But by the mid-1980s, the flame had started to flicker. Years of internal conflict and substance abuse had taken their toll. Their recent albums had failed to capture the public's imagination, and their star was fading. They were seen by many as relics of a bygone era. So you had two groups at opposite ends of the spectrum. One, a rising force in a new genre. The other, a legendary band on the verge of fading into obscurity. Two different generations, two different cultures, two different sounds. Absolutely no one expected their paths to cross, let alone collide in a way that would reshape the music landscape forever. The architect of this improbable union was a visionary producer named Rick Rubin. Rubin, the co-founder of Def Jam Recordings, had a radical idea that sounded like pure chaos at the time. He saw the raw energy in both rock and hip-hop and believed they shared a common spirit. He asked a simple but revolutionary question. What if hip-hop and rock didn't have to compete? What if they could collaborate? Rubin was working with Run-DMC on their third album, Raising Hell. While searching for beats, Jam Master Jay started looping the drum intro from Aerosmith's original Walk This Way. The beat was infectious. Run and DMC, however, were skeptical. They initially thought the riff sounded like hillbilly gibberish and didn't even want to rap over it. They didn't know Aerosmith and had no idea what the lyrics meant. But Rubin persisted. He saw the potential. He convinced them to give it a shot, believing the powerful guitar riff and funky rhythm were a perfect match for their aggressive vocal style. The next step was even bolder, getting Aerosmith involved. Rubin reached out to Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, who were attempting to get their careers back on track. At first, they were hesitant. They didn't know who Run-DMC were, and the idea of a rap group covering their song was completely foreign. But they were also intrigued and frankly needed a break. When Tyler and Perry walked into the studio, the atmosphere was tense. It was a meeting of two different worlds. But then, the music started. As Jam Master Jay dropped the beat and Run and DMC began trading verses, something magical happened. It wasn't about ego. It was about the sound. Tyler, realizing they didn't know the lyrics' phrasing, jumped in to sing the chorus, and the energy in the room completely transformed. That creative explosion was perfectly captured in the now iconic music video. The video shows the two bands in adjacent rehearsal studios, engaged in a musical battle. The wall separating them literally comes crashing down, symbolizing the breakdown of musical and cultural barriers. That moment wasn't just a clever visual, it was a prophecy. A wall in the music industry had just been demolished. So, why did Walk This Way matter so much? Because it did something no song had ever done before on such a massive scale. First, it acted as a Trojan horse, bringing rap vocals directly to rock audiences. Millions of rock fans who had never listened to a hip-hop song were suddenly hearing Run-DMC on their favorite radio stations. It forced them to listen to rap, not as a novelty, but as a legitimate and powerful form of musical expression. Second, it reintroduced rock guitars to the world of hip-hop. While early hip-hop often sampled rock and funk, this collaboration put the electric guitar front and center in a way that was bold and undeniable, paving the way for the rap-rock fusion that would explode in the coming years. And third, and perhaps most importantly, it shattered the glass ceiling at MTV. Before Walk This Way, hip-hop videos were rarely played on the channel, but the crossover appeal of this track was impossible to ignore. The video went into heavy rotation, giving Run-DMC and hip-hop culture unprecedented mainstream visibility. For the first time, hip-hop wasn't just knocking on the door of the mainstream, it was kicking it down and being invited inside. The song was a massive commercial success. It soared up the Billboard charts, becoming a bigger hit than Aerosmith's original. It single-handedly revived Aerosmith's career, leading to their multi-platinum comeback album, Permanent Vacation. And it transformed Run-DMC from hip-hop stars into global superstars, proving that rap music could conquer the world. But the legacy of Walk This Way goes far deeper than chart positions and record sales. This song isn't just about a great beat or a catchy chorus. It's about building bridges. It was a bridge between black and white audiences, bringing them together under a shared groove. It was a bridge between street culture and stadium rock, proving that the energy of the block could fill the biggest arenas. It was a bridge between the old and the new, showing that a classic rock anthem could be reborn and reimagined for a new generation. It was a powerful statement that music has no color, no genre, no rules. It demonstrated that art doesn't need permission to evolve, and that true creativity often happens when you break the rules and mix things that aren't supposed to go together. Walk This Way was more than a collaboration. It was a conversation. It was a dialogue between two distinct American art forms, and the result was a language that everyone could understand. The impact of that conversation is still echoing today. Seriously, without this song, the entire landscape of modern popular music would look and sound completely different. Think about it. The genre-blending hits that dominate the charts today, where artists seamlessly mix pop, hip-hop, rock, and R&B, that all started here. Those massive rap rock and nu metal bands of the late 90s and early 2000s like Linkin Park and Rage Against the Machine, they owe a huge debt to the foundation laid by this track. The fact that hip-hop is now the most dominant and influential genre in the world, Walk This Way, was the battering ram that opened the gates for that cultural takeover. Every time you hear a rapper on a pop song, a guitar riff in a trap beat, or an artist who refuses to be put in a single genre box, you are hearing the legacy of this song. Artists today, whether they know it or not, are standing on the foundation that Run-DMC Aerosmith and Rick Rubin built back in 1986. So now that you know the story, I urge you to go listen to Walk This Way again. But this time, listen with new ears. Don't just hear it as a song, hear it as a revolution. Hear it as a moment in time when music did more than just entertain. It brought people together and changed the world forever. What other song do you think broke down barriers like this one did? A track that completely changed the game? Drop it in the comments below. Your suggestion might just become the topic of our next episode. And if you enjoyed this journey into music history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Soundscape, and share it with a fellow music lover. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time where music meets meaning.